Now, we're welcome back. The Monaghan Way Podcast. A little break there, but obviously we had to get back out this week ahead of the big one. It's episode 38, and it is, of course, a Northern Sound derby to look forward to on the Ulster Championship. Hard to believe we're into the second weekend of the Ulster Championship. I'm sure maybe a lot of you caught the game against Tyrone and Armagh last weekend, but in fairness, we here have all been counting down to this one. And already, I can tell you, the barbs have been flying across the county borders here between the Cavan and Monaghan supporters as they look forward to this one. I don't know how strong the barbs could be, considering maybe league form for both teams and maybe what their chances could be in the latter part of the championship. But I'm delighted to say I'm joined by Damien Donohoe of We Are Cavan and also Fergal Monaghan. The original was the Farney Army podcast, but news broke overnight with us here. There's been a takeover, and it is now We Are Monaghan that has been named. I would argue that's a shot that has been fired in anger by Damien Donohoe there, of course, who is the... are you the director, chief, CEO of all these We Are counties, Damien? You better explain to us firstly before we find out what's this We Are Monaghan now takeover.
Yeah, well, I don't know what I am. I suppose I'm the coordinator behind the idea is that if we can all come together under one umbrella of podcasts, that we've a better chance of succeeding. So the lads in Monaghan, I don't know, would we call it a hostile takeover? I don't think it's been that bad. It's definitely been I'm going to call it an amalgamation of minds, and hopefully it all works out. But now the boys in Jack and Fergal have a good product there, so we're just delighted to be partnering up with the boys and hoping that we can grow together.
I'm laughing. I'm just looking at anyone that's visually watching this. I can see a baseball cap behind you, not on Trump like, and I'm looking to see, is that saying "Make Cavan Great Again"? Is that what it's saying in the background?
That's We Are Cavan. That's the We Are Cavan hats. So the Monaghan ones are on the way. They're in the reverse, so they are.
Fergal, I'll allow you to come in because, in fairness,
he bribed us with two blue Ford 4600s, so we used them at the protest there at the weekend. But we'll call it a merger. We're going round the political lines. We're going to go Monaghan Cavan. Damien might even talk about amalgamating the two teams going forward in the championship. But listen. It's just the most important thing is it's great to get talking about football and get stuff out there, and it's actually a great weekend for it because this game, Cavan and Monaghan, you really look forward to it, but you kind of dread it as well because you just don't want to lose, and so look, we've got the blue and white tractors. We're going to be taking them to Clonus now, courtesy of We Are Monaghan and We Are Cavan. But it's a bit of crack. It'll be the same great content. More than yourself, Sean. Everyone loves talking about football, and hopefully, from a Monaghan point of view, and no more than Cavan had a couple of wins this year, didn't set the world alight, but Monaghan really looking for that elusive win, and this kind of feels good. But there's a bit of freedom about Monaghan. Funny enough, I actually think Monaghan have a wee bit more. Talking to Cavan people, I think there's a less. Even though Monaghan lost all 7 league games, there seems to be less doom and gloom about Monaghan for some reason, and it's an interesting dynamic. And Damien will go into it as well, even though Cavan stayed up and won 2 games and beat Offaly at the end there. Monaghan's performance against Donegal at the end put green shoots of hope and maybe a few new older players coming back as well from injury. But time will tell. But anyway, let's talk about football. That's what we love to do.
He's talking it up already, Damien. Now, we're trying to get the positives out here at the very, very start. And are you taking this all in? Will Cavan be sitting thinking that now?
Do you know what, he's set it up just perfectly there. Like it's the poor Cavan lads. We're coming over to Clonus. We haven't really got a hope, and we're going to be doing well. We might even just organise a blockade so the game doesn't go ahead. It'll be that one side. Do you know what? I do think he's right though. I think I've never seen a championship build up in Cavan as low key as under the radar. Like there's more people talking about the ladies from last weekend, the under-20s, than there is about this. Now, there is a green shoot flying over Cavan Town at the minute that they played Galway in a challenge match on last Saturday, and apparently that went well. So, there's a little bit of hope in that, but I think the phrase, you don't want to be going into the games with hope. You want to be going in an expectation. And I don't think we can say that about Cavan at this point in time. We're not going in expectation. The only thing that probably is keeping Cavan's hope alive is that Monaghan aren't going great, and it hasn't gone great for Monaghan. So it's kind of whose build up has been worse. They'll probably come out with the losers tag at the weekend as well, rather than whose has been better. I don't think either could say that they've had a good build up to the championship.
I take it Mickey Graham is having a wee bit of sympathy now on his home county in that challenge match with Galway.
Well, between Mickey Graham and Raymond Galligan, if we can't get a little bit of favour out of Galway at this point in time, and then we have Kieran Brady from Corofin is playing with us as well. So look at the relations. It's kind of like America and Russia at this stage. You know, it's getting a whole lot closer between Galway and Cavan. We're getting on at her age as well. So we are. Look at I don't know the ins and outs of the challenge match. You're hearing different rumours. Galway were on a team holiday and came back and had to do a heavy session, so they've done it before the game is one of the rumours going around. Listen, either way, Cavan are just looking for positives. We're just looking for anything that we can cling on to say that okay, yeah, this is turning in the right direction. And that's a big thing. We need to see the form of our key players improve. Paddy Lynch, by his own admission, hasn't played to the standards that he's capable of playing. And a lot of our players have been kind of hit and miss. So we need consistency in a game. We need confidence in those players, and they're going to have to play better this weekend than they've played in any game in the league to get something out of the game against Monaghan.
Fergal, I don't know if you'd heard, but there was the word coming out, challenge game circuit, Monaghan suffering the defeat to Kildare in recent weekends gone past. So here's Cavan's away and they're beating Galway, and we're not beating Kildare, who were relegated, if memory serves me right, out of Division 2. So have you any shoots of green coming out of Monaghan in a positivity?
Well, the situation that Damien talks about there, really both sides are low in confidence, but it actually is irrelevant in this game. Like, I've often seen Monaghan bounce into this game, flying in Division 1 and losing this game. We lost the last 3 fixtures here. So it's really irrelevant what's gone before. The only thing I will say from a Monaghan point of view is that Monaghan need to be in this game with 10 minutes to go and probably not do what they've done in league matches, making those silly mistakes, turnovers, losing, put themselves in a position to win this game. Will they have the confidence then to go and do it? Because we haven't done it in the last 7 games. So we're really needing this win. Cavan have had 2 big wins, Kildare and Offaly, that team you talk about that Monaghan played in the challenge. But it's really irrelevant what happened in the league, essentially. It's all about this game. But both sides have to win it. Big layoff if you lose, 5 weeks, I think, something like that. A lot of time. And, the backside could fall out of the season fairly quickly because losing is a terrible habit, and it's so hard for teams to get lifted and to re-energise. And it's doom and gloom, as you said, Damien, around the county. You're listening. These guys don't live in a bubble. They live in the world that we're in, and they're listening to all this rubbish going on as well. And they're the guys who have to go out every night and put in the training, put in the effort. And you're listening to that, and it's not easy. So for me, both sides, I talked Monaghan up there at the beginning because for some reason, I don't know why, but you're always optimistic as a Monaghan man. You have to be. But there is hope there. There has to be. So otherwise, what's the point? But the performances or the results more so haven't been great. There have been examples of some good performances throughout the game, particularly that Donegal game at the end. Roscommon, we could have got something out in Dublin. So there was, if we take away the results part of Monaghan, there has been in situations some good parts to it. If we can get some names back, there's been talk about Conor McCarthy maybe making a return, Killian Lavelle making a return. I think it's going to be too early to start Killian. That injury in the shoulder has been really tough, and it's been tough on him because he was actually our best player, one of our best players last year. Got that injury against Meath and never really recovered. Conor McCarthy has been floating about there. There's been talk that he could come back as well. And I think Monaghan getting their hands on the ball, on the breaking ball. This one, both sides are actually quite talking to Shawnee Johnson during the week. Both midfields will be quite even, and this ball is going to be on the ground. And Monaghan haven't won enough breaking ball, albeit against very high quality opposition in the league. But both sides it's going to be a dogfight getting your hands on that ball. And we saw great Monaghan teams in the past, that dynamic half back line, getting their hands on the ball and driving forward. Monaghan need to do that on Sunday. So will Cavan. I'm interested by Paddy Lynch. He's probably not coming in the form he's in, but he has still hit some big scores at times going through it. And that other man, Garrod McKiernan, who at times, I think one of the games was maybe against Meath, he scored 9 points. Like, he is a serious operator. He's well on now, but I don't know where he is on the injury front. Both sides struggling with injuries. And I know Monaghan won't be all clear. I don't know if Ryan McCaffrey could be back. Maybe his hamstring and Fionn Carlin and different things like that. So, look, at the injury front on Monaghan has been well established. But for me, this game, it'll be interesting around the midfield area. And I think, Kieran McGeeney was on about it in that midfield area. We have a great goalkeeper in Rory Beggan. I know Liam Brady's in there for Cavan. The kickouts will be massive. But for me, the ball's going to be on the deck a lot of the time. I can't see either midfield dominating the other. Who gets that breaking ball? Who wins it? It's going to be really, really, let's boil this down to basically who wants this more. It's going to be a battle out there. And I think, Damien, you're nodding your head, you might agree with something like that.
I think when all else is equal, it comes down to desire. And that's, and I don't think on paper there's a lot between the two sides. I don't think when both sides will be playing at their absolute best that there's much between Cavan and Monaghan. So neither are playing at their absolute best. So it will come down to that desire. The interesting point for me that you made there was Monaghan need to stay in this game. Cavan didn't put anybody really to the sword. We got ourselves in a very, very advantageous position against Cork down in Cork, but we couldn't finish it out. We fell off a cliff after getting 7-8 points in front. So I don't see Cavan getting into a position, even if they get 6, 7, 8 points in front of Monaghan, it's not what it used to be in terms of winning the game out or seeing a game out that easy from that position. So I think it will come down to the final 10 minutes of the game. And Cavan, looking through the league results, when it came down to the final 10 minutes of the game, when there was close games, Cavan lost more than they won, unfortunately. Like the Kildare game, they were well out in front and finished from a good lead in front. The Offaly game was close and they won a close game in that, and that was important. But the other games, when it was close coming down the wire, Cavan weren't great in that position. So I think that's something Cavan will have to have improved upon. And for me, that comes down to those two factors again. It's desire and it's confidence. In those final moments, have you got the confidence to say, I'm going to take the right risk here. I'm going to make the right decision, but sometimes the right decision is to take a risk and go to win the game rather than try not to lose the game. And it sounds like it's the same thing, but they're completely different mindsets. If you're going in thinking, it's a draw game 10 minutes ago against Monaghan, I don't want to lose this game. That's very, very different than I'm going to go and win this game. So I'd like to see that coming down this home straight. If Cavan could win a close championship game against Monaghan, I think it'd be a big, big step in the right direction for this group. So that's it. Like there's an awful lot in it. The kickouts, I couldn't agree more with you. Midfield, I don't think there's a lot between it. I think Cavan are going to have to go with Garrod McKiernan out around the middle of the field to try and win that primary possession. Like some of his catching. Cork are a big, strong team. Meath are a big, strong team. Good in the air, both of them. And yet Garrod, when he got his run clean, he rose above all. Like at 35 years of age, still making those catches. Garrod has been phenomenal for us, as has Dara McVitie. Throughout the league, Dara was a really good kick-out option up in Derry for us. So Cavan's kick-out strategy has definitely evolved as the league went on, and the best we've seen of it was against Derry up in Celtic Park. So hopefully we see more of that again. But winning that primary possession is king and god at the moment in Gaelic football.
Yeah, it certainly has become, as you said, it was interesting. Kieran McGeeney come out with that term and it has stuck for so long now. It's a piggery out round there. Interesting, Damien, yourself involved in that line of business as well.
Exactly.
You can understand where he was coming from now. When particularly when you watch the game at the weekend there between Tyrone and Armagh, like it was a clash of big men all the time in the centre of that field. And it's a case of, as you said, if you win that primary possession, all of a sudden, a field can open up in front of you. Just a point that Fergal brought up there as well, I thought was very interesting. Listen, it's only a quarter-final of an Ulster Championship. There's still a secondary championship. Both teams hadn't the greatest of leagues. But whoever loses this weekend, there is a 5-6 week layoff before they're back in action again. I thought very interesting. The arse could fall out of your season. It comes down to this one game as to what the rest of your summer could hold, particularly on the back. If you're coming off the back of good league performances and a couple of wins under your belt, you'd be thinking, we've something to look forward to here. This game could be the defining of the year of 2026 for both Cavan and Monaghan.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's that big. How realistic is it that the loser of this game feels that there's confidence going into an All-Ireland series for Sam Maguire? I don't think that either team are going to, even deep down in their bowels when they're trying to convince themselves that they're fit to compete with the top teams in the country. I don't think that belief is really going to be there. So when the belief isn't there for the target in front of you, the motivation drops and the level of effort drops. And yeah, the Irish very quickly could fall out of this. Whereas, flip it on its head, the winner of this game goes in against Derry or Antrim. Most likely Derry, I think we'd all agree. But Derry didn't tear up any trees in the league. They didn't set the world alight that everybody thought that there's a team that could go on and win in All-Ireland. Nobody's talking about Derry in that battle, in that context. So you take them into a battle, you've got a win under your belt now. There's a little bit of hope there. There's a bit of momentum. And even you go out into that semi-final and it's a close game. If you win it, great. You're looking for an Ulster final. If you lose it and it's close, you're taking a bit of confidence. Oh, well, Derry were top end of Division 2 and we got 2 games under their belt. It's only 3 weeks now until the All-Ireland series. From that point, all of these things add up that make it easier to keep the ship floating. But you lose this weekend, it's going to be very, very choppy waters after that.
Maybe, Fergal, we're looking too much into it. As supporters on the outside looking in, we just want to win. The teams tactically will be setting themselves up for whatever this weekend brings, but they know also as well that there is a championship campaign to be there. The management team would be focusing on that no matter what happens this weekend, there's still a game there. Or maybe are we right to be thinking this is the defining game? For Damien summed it up perfectly there. Win this, you've got a little bit of momentum. The gap to the All-Ireland series is narrowed down. And God forbid Monaghan get the bragging rights back as well. Remember, it's three championship games or 3 outcomes, and we last got one over them.
Well, listen, a lot what said there is important. You made a good point, Sean. The fact that we haven't got a good league campaign under our belt puts a bit more pressure on us, results-wise. We talk about performances and stuff like that, but as well as that, the calendar then alludes to playing. You're still getting another game fairly soon after this one, and you're up and running. Momentum. We talk about momentum, whether it be in games, whether it be playing with the wind, whatever. This is all about getting that win. I think we narrow our sights. You said as well, we got to get more parochial. Really and truly, let's look at it like an old-fashioned championship game. Monaghan v Cavan. We want to win this one. Both sides, put it all on the line. Because I don't think there's any point looking any further. Some people are talking about Derry and all that. Forget about it. It's all about this game. But it's really interesting from my point of view. Talking to Colin Walsh there during the week as well. He made a great point, and you said it as well. Go and win the game. And Monaghan definitely have the talent and the speed to do it, particularly in that half-forward line. I spoke about how in 2019, Stephen O'Hanlon made his debut for Monaghan against Cavan. Cavan won that day, Malachy O'Rourke's final year. He played on the inside line. I think Stephen is at his best when he gets that ball off the shoulder, can break that first tackle, and suddenly it opens up. And he's actually been scoring a few 2-pointers as well this year. He had a big time. He scored 7 points against Armagh in the first league game, which didn't have much bright spots, but he was one of them. And he's got an eye for a goal. Micheál Bannigan out round the centre forward area, essential for Monaghan, because you can give a pass, you can take the score. But Monaghan need to get ahead of steam. They need to get that ball off the shoulder and play to their strengths. And they're very streaky when they get going. And if they bring that energy, and I was very impressed at times with Andrew Woods had a phenomenal season last year, but he showed glimpses of that this year. The first half against Donegal, I think he hit 1-3. So he's another man. He's got a bit of power, a bit of size, something that maybe Monaghan don't have a lot of. And that you're going to add then maybe Davy Gard and Jack McCarron off the bench. There are options there for Monaghan. And I'm actually interested from Damien's point of view of how he sees Cavan matching up with that half-forward line, or where will he see that threat from Monaghan? Obviously, in the back line, Monaghan have their own troubles to look after because, I've Oisin Brady's been having a phenomenal year as well, scored 1-3 against Offaly. Tiernan Madden coming to life, tipping in nicely as well. And a couple of Kingscourt boys coming in there, Peter Corrigan and Cian Sheckle and these guys. And of course, you mentioned Gerard McKiernan and Paddy Lynch, but Gerard McKiernan could a bit like what Mihal can do, go in and out around. Gerard could be on the edge of the square, which would absolutely be something I wouldn't like to see, when a few high ones going in to someone who can field the ball like that. So there's loads of options. There's loads of ways you can move the chess pieces around the board. Both management sides will have really gone through all this because there'll be nothing left to chance. You're on about training tours and going abroad and doing it. Like both sides will be in a good place. They'll be going in with a kind of a pep in step because they know like this is a great opportunity. And every player, and I talked as well, Colin Walsh made a great point during the week, each player individually will want to put their best foot forward for this game because they will not be satisfied with how they have maybe performed at times during the league. Because remember, these guys are high-level athletes and, they have high standards. And I expect, nobody's going to take a step back on Sunday. I can tell you that. It's going to be juicy. But I do want Damien to come in maybe and talk about those matchups. I think it's intriguing.
He's fishing for information, you see, Fergal, or Damien. That's what's going on.
We're all on the one team. We're all on the one team,
We are.
Do you know what? The matchups are going to be crucial. I think if I was looking at this Monaghan team, I'd be saying to myself, you need to watch. I think Desi Ward needs watching. I think he's been playing really good. I think he needs attention. I think Mihal Bannigan, I think he's the quarterback, the man who makes the things happen. And then Stephen O'Hanlon, you have to have pace to get with him. Like he's frighteningly fast. I think if O'Hanlon's playing in the half-forward position, I wouldn't be surprised to see a championship debutant going on to him in Emmanuel Shehu. He's blisteringly quick as well. It'd be great to see him getting on. He's done well in the Sigerson for Sligo. He done well in the challenge match circuit. He done well when he come on against Offaly, so his form could be hitting just at the right time. I think Niall Carlin is the man who will end up on Mihal Bannigan. If he's fit to play now. He's had his injury issues and it's unknown whether Niall Carlin is going to be fully fit to play. I know he missed the challenge match against Sligo the week before last and wasn't fully there for the Galway game, didn't play the whole lot of that. So there's question marks over him. Conor McCarthy is going to take watching. Like you can hoodwink it all you want that he was injured. Conor McCarthy is going to play in this game, and when Conor McCarthy's on the field, you have to watch him. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Jason McLaughlin going out around the middle of the field area because I think Conor is going to be your half back or half forward line. And I think the last thing the Cavan have to really, really watch out for is what they're going to do on Rory Beggin's kickouts. Are they going to? They'll set up on a zonal press, 3 to the full forward line or 4 to the full forward line, and then different combinations between 3s and 4s to the outside line. But you don't want to give them an over the top option. For me, you want to give them a slightly shorter option. Now we had Killian Clark on the We Are Cavan podcast this week, and he was saying that the stats throughout the league where the percentages of shots got away from short kickouts were in the 80s, 90%. So you're still giving away possession, but I just think it's where you give away the possession can catch Cavan out. Cavan will set up with a zonal defence. It's been a bone of contention around Cavan that we're not going man to man. And I don't know, will Cavan vary away from that a lot? I'm going to imagine they're going to have to pick up 1 or 2 players and then stay to what they've been working on, which is that low block zonal defence. But teams have been able to find holes in it too often. We haven't been that solid in defence, so there's a lot of question marks on it. The big hope for Cavan is, as Fergal was alluding to there, Gerard McKiernan, if he's out around the middle of the field, he's a handful. If he's in the full forward line, along with Paddy Lynch, along with maybe Darragh McVeety, they're 3 really good ball winners. And if Cavan feed them The question marks are there over that full back line in Monaghan, and that would be Cavan's strongest line, and trying to put it up against a line that might not have the physicality and the height that Paddy Lynch and that Gerard McKiernan and Dara McVeety have. So, but will Cavan play those boys in there? And if they play them in there, will they kick the ball? Because they haven't been kicking the ball a lot. There's no point in playing them boys in with hand passes. You want them with one-on-one early ball. Put it in 50-50 into the mixer. Go a bit old school and see who's winning out those battles. If it's not working, you can change tack. But I'd love to see that. I'd love to see Paddy Lynch, Gerard McKiernan, Dara McVeety full forward line, and Cavan just peppering the skies. I was going to use a war analogy there, but I won't.
maybe not. Maybe best to avoid those at the moment. But it's interesting. During the league, and obviously we know the games come thick and fast, and if you go out and you get a good performance, you're trying to follow it up maybe a week later. Similarly, if you have a bad performance, you're trying to get that out of your system and try then to rectify it for the following week. There's been a break now of 3-4 weeks, so the teams would have been back in camp. I know Monaghan actually went on one of these summer camps or sunshine camps. They were in Portugal in the build up to this one as well. That doesn't add pressure onto the fact that they really need to be beating Cavan now.
We went to the Steve Russell Hotel.
Well, there you are.
Steve Russell, so don't be throwing your nose up at that.
But the thing is, the amount of prep they would have got on all focus on this game. During the league, they're coming thick and fast, and you probably don't have time to reflect and look forward. But this one, you're looking forward to it from the day the draw was made, and now you've been looking forward for the last couple of weeks. So tactically, what you discussed there, the matchups, what you're going to do, could you see any surprises, Fergal? Could you see something that we're not expecting happening or occurring, or somebody being brought in?
I do think that it's interesting they're talking about that full back line. I think Dylan Byrne might be ready to come back into that cornerback position. He made his own last year. Look, we mentioned some injury returns. I think Louis Kelly will be around the middle possibly. There's talk about Killian Lavelle. I just think it's a very big ask for Killian coming in from that injury. Particularly what he'll be asked to do. You're talking about Paddy Lynch, you're talking about Gerard McKiernan. It's going to be aerial battle and his shoulder. But I wouldn't be surprised if Killian is in at some point if he's fit, and maybe, but he hasn't played any football at all in the league. Damien mentioned Conor McCarthy. He's definitely a man who could be thereabouts. I'd love to see if Ryan McInnesby's injuries cleared up. I think he'd be a massive help for us getting that dynamic ball going forward, either as a half forward or as a half back. Look, Ryan O'Toole has been the man who's been deemed to be the man marker. He's got all the dirty jobs throughout the league. He'll probably go on Paddy Lynch in there in that full forward line. Although Ryan is absolutely brilliant going forward as well, and we'll remember that goal he scored in 23 in his debut against Tyrone, and he scored plenty of goals as well. Over the league. He loves to get forward, and he'll always back himself. Great interview with Ryan. He says that he always backs himself going forward. To be honest with you, what I don't see happening unexpected. I just know one thing, that this game, Monaghan definitely. It feels like a while since we beat Cavan in one of these games, So, but I do know it's going to be. It's kind of. I can't see either side running away with it, and maybe I'll be eating my words, but generally what happens is it's nip and tuck and nobody's out to get. But in fairness, the last time Cavan did pull away with us, I know Rory was out to goals that time and we were caught for the last goal. We lost by 6 points in the end, 3-12 to 112. But I don't think there'll be anything unexpected in that sense. Tactically, I mean, it's a new game. The 2-pointer is part of the game now. It wasn't part of the game when we played last time, I don't think. So that'll be interesting. And I think Cavan, this will be Monaghan. Monaghan have not got the opportunity to hit those place ball 2-pointers, which we did in Division 2 when we won that Division 2 title last year. This year, it's been a lot less chances. Teams are very clever now, where to foul, when to foul. Monaghan have got a lot of shots away in the league, but our efficiency has been pretty poor, whether we're shooting under pressure or making the wrong choice of when to shoot. But it'll be interesting if Rory Beggan does get those opportunities. He looks to be back to his best after that groin injury against Dublin. Hit a couple of nice place balls as well against Donegal. So, I mean, that'll be a big factor. And Cavan will be just, Damien McCaffrey saying, do not foul from 45 metres, 50 metres, because if Monaghan can start getting those nice frees and Rory Beggan starts hitting them, that just gets the crowd behind you. That gets everyone lifted. And it's such a big one. I don't know what the weather. I reckon the weather's going to be decent this weekend, but there's been wind basically all the time. It's always windy. That'll be a factor as well. So do I see anything surprising? No. We're talking about war. There's war in the news. This will be war. It'll be a good type of war, which will be a real local battle. And I just think it's going to be that midfield area. I just can't emphasize it enough. I think the ball is going to be on the ground a lot. And I think it's going to be attritional stuff. And if Monaghan, as I say, can use their pace. But Cavan have equally got the men out there as well. You mentioned Darren McVitie as well. Guy is having a great league as well. Damien, Jared Smith. I think he's only scored one game he didn't score. He's tipping in with a point in nearly every game. And you get guys chipping in there. Ryan Donohoe won 5 against Offaly. There seems to be a nice bit of a scoring spread in Cavan, and Monaghan are going to have their work cut out in the defence, kind of just to stop all those possible fires, because we all talk about Paddy Lynch and Gerard McCaffrey, and we know that they kind of interlink. One man might score heavily one day, the next another. But if you look through the stats there, you've guys chipping in regularly. And I mentioned Oisin Brady, and we got another lad there coming in. There's Brady. It's going to be a commentator's nightmare with all these Bradys. You have Kieran Brady from Corofin coming in as well. I don't know much about him actually. I must pick your brain after, get a bit of information for the commentary situation. But I mean, you have a nice spread of scores. And Monaghan are gonna have to watch that, because we can get very simplistic in how we talk about Paddy Lynch and Gerard McCaffrey. Of course, the last time we were playing, we had Conor McManus on the field. That was, for me, over the years, probably Monaghan had that little bit of an X factor that Cavan didn't have, and I suppose Paddy Lynch would be that X factor player. But he's coming in, unfortunately for him, not in the health he would like after that difficult injury, but he certainly is as close to Cavan as an X-factor forward, I think, as Cavan had in many a year. But Monaghan now, I'd like to see big performance of Andrew Woods, feed that half forward line and play a nice, fast game of football with energy, because I think that's when Monaghan are at the best.
Well, it's funny, 2 things from that, Fergal. One, again, going back to Killian Clark, and he was talking about his battles with Monaghan, and he's a Shercock man. So every time he goes onto the field, his absolute love of Derby with Monaghan was evident in it. And while it's a healthy respect, it's a thriving rivalry, and thank God, and long may it last. It's the best rivalry that keeps the GA alive, is Cavan Monaghan rivalry. But you spoke about energy there. And the big thing for me, and I'm really, really curious to see, I've seen in games when a crowd gets energized and gets behind a team, how it can just change an entire season. I don't know, are we going to see a big crowd at this game? This is Ulster Championship, Cavan versus Monaghan. There should be north of 15,000 at this game. There should be a big crowd. And yet I'm hearing numbers that are well below that figure. So something has to change. Something has to energize these supporters to come out and follow the team. And a win can do that. A win can actually do that and can bring them all back out. But will there be enough there to really energize the team to get them that win? That's going to be the really interesting thing. And I think to me, it's the biggest issue we have in the GA at this moment in time, because county players aren't playing county football and putting in the level of effort that they're putting in for the money they're getting, because they're not getting anything that would justify the time that they're spending. So they're doing it because they want to be involved in the big occasions, and yet we're consistently reducing the big occasions in terms of the attendance. So something has to change there to bring the masses back out to support the county teams here. There has to be a change in that way, because otherwise, we've seen this year there's a number of players who stepped away, who just should be on that county panel, should be on that county team for Cavan, and maybe that might have had something to do with it. The big occasion isn't as big as it used to be, but that's a debate for another day.
But hopefully maybe even listening to this will maybe energize the people to want to get out and get it. I don't know, lads, you'll be doing it during the week as well. You'll be looking back, reflecting back on games and stories surrounding this derby. And you touched on it there, Damien. I don't think unless you live in the region, the Northern Sound region here, people understand this is bragging rights. This is to have one over the neighbours, because Cavan have had it over Monaghan for the last few years. No matter what barb we can throw at Cavan, we'll always get hit back by, oh, well, wait a minute now, who's won the last couple of championship games, So there's always that. So there's the turn of fortunes in that. But I happen to be looking up a story here. Now, in fairness, it's one of my colleagues, Matthew Monaghan, found it. It was Malachy Clerkin that wrote it back in the early part of the last century. And a certain Ono Duffy, that would be familiar to people, was the founding member of An Garda Síochána, of course, and Fine Gael. But he was the secretary of the Ulster Council, and Cavan won an Ulster final by a point, but apparently there was a goal disallowed during the course of the game by the Cavan umpires. It gets better, this story now. So the Cavan umpires disallowed a Monaghan goal. It went to a meeting, and he had the backing of PJ Whelan, who was the Ulster president, happened to be a Monaghan man. That was very convenient. And they overturned the result and said, no, Monaghan won that championship game, so they did. And that then was turned over by Central Council. But what I thought was the best part of this whole story, that Cavan were so aggrieved that the two Monaghan men, they asked them to be kicked off the council. That didn't happen. They were so aggrieved that they said, right, well, we're going to go out and set up another province of our own here. So they contacted Longford, Louth, Meath and Westmeath to set up a fifth province that would be known as Tara. So there you go.
Oh, way. I didn't know that story.
And that gives you an idea of the tribal sort of
anything
surrounds this game.
Anything to get one over. Anything to get one over.
100%, yeah.
That's a brilliant story. Tara, I like the idea of that. Now we might sometimes win that province. So that's
I'm glad you said that, because we were chatting here. I was talking to Matthew, and he says, "Well, at least there's one provincial competition that they might have won."
Yeah. You could be the chairperson. You're sitting in Tara there at the moment, Fergal, so you could be the chairperson there.
Yeah, they're on the crest of a wave. They're looking for Leinster now. But I actually just think about it. We've both teams have great history and stuff like that, and Monaghan winning Ulsters recently and Cavan. But as I said, we have to get maybe a bit more parochial. I think, and I'm sitting here, we're talking about Patrick Kavanagh, and you that poem Epic, and the last line, a local row. Gods make their own importance, and that is it. This is the one. Forget about everything else. Forget about the Strait of Hormuz. It's in Cheernock's Park. We'll be there in a Ford 4-6, holding up the traffic, and we'll be beeping the horn going through Clonus at the end, hopefully.
Well, I think that could be the perfect way. We started off with We Are Cavan taking over and We Are Monaghan, and we're going out now. We're going to be in Fords. There's going to be further blockades in Clonus with the sounds of it this weekend. And I think it could be fair to say, lads, this could be a first as well. This is a tripod, I'm just thinking. It's the cumulation of 3 podcasts coming together. So we had a tripod here today.
Trilogy. It's the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. So it is.
I noticed none of you mentioned the dreaded penalties. Would there be finally the possibility of that? This game is so tight. I was looking just at some of the facts. Cavan and Monaghan hold the record for the number of draws between 2 counties in championship football. Numbers might have increased since then. At that stage, 54 times. 27 wins for Cavan. Oh, well, anyway. 14 for Monaghan, but 13 draws. And when you consider Cork and Kerry have the record for the most games played at 111, they've only drawn 11 times.
Yeah.
So that tells you just how you cannot call this one.
Yeah. Well, what was it? 1922? Do we split the Anglo-Celt? We shared it in 1922. I was looking up Wikipedia during the week, so I don't know who's claiming the rights on that. I don't think it's going to the 39 to 40 titles that we have.
Wait a minute. Let's clarify. And 22 of them or something was just handed to you, I think, as well. There has to be clarification on that.
George Cartwright re-clarified that a long time ago. In 97, we were going for 57 of them at that stage, and then it was re-clarified. Anything that we didn't win, we took off. So
we're sharing the Anglo-Celt again. So look, it's all, you never know what will happen.
Sharon the Anglo-Celt is right. Let's just do that. Forget about penalties. We'll amalgamate and take on Derry or Antrim.
Can you just picture, just finally, Fergal, Monaghan do get that glorified win on Sunday.
I have to go.
Anglo-Celt have to carry it on the front page. Well, listen, lads, I will let you go. I appreciate it very, very much. Damien Donohoe of We Are Cavan. Fergal Monaghan now of We Are Monaghan. And you can still get all the same good content that the lads had there previous to that. That takeover not going to have any major effect. I take it the We Ares, whatever they may be next week, will be very entertaining. And of course, we'll be back here with the Monaghan Way with you as well. Don't forget, you can catch it on all the platforms, wherever it is that you get your podcasts. And of course, with us here on YouTube as well, if you want to take in the visual of it all.